was on the zoning board. And, the guy came in and mentioned he wanted to turn it into a three-family or something like that. Okay, perfect. Oh, yeah. And I said, that was just one of the parents were first married. So we went and got a flat, so, you know, for the person. So you're not going to take care of the child.
He's got his car.
He's got another meeting to go to. From the beginning.
I did learn that we're receiving a preservation merit award from the Historic Farming Foundation for Madison Avenue.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, yeah, it deserves it. I wish they had an open house.
Okay.
Got done.
All right.
We're all set. We're all set.
Thank you, Erin. Okay. Just before you do roll call, John, for everybody on your microphone, there's the push button. If you push it, it turns it on and you're live. And then just you don't have to hold it, you just push it to turn it back off again. Make sure you're all, if you need to pull it closer, just pull it in close. But we need to be using them so that everything is picked up for people that are attending via Zoom, and that it's clearly recorded for the live stream. There you go. The live stream and any recordings that we have.
Do you want us to stay muted unless we're talking?
That would be helpful. Yep.
So we'll keep it off.
Go for it.
Good evening. This is scheduled meeting of the Historic Resources Commission. This evening, we are conducting a public workshop to discuss cases that come before us at the August 6th meeting. My name is John Myers. I'm the chair of the commission. In attendance this evening is Commissioner McEnany, Commissioner Tobin, Commissioner Hacker, Commissioner Pinckney, and Aaron Glennon from the planning office staff is providing logistics support in our adventure in Zoom and YouTube live streaming. So bear with us. This is the first time we've been doing this, or any of the boards have been doing it, and there may be a few bumps along the way. Again, this is a public workshop. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to offer comments as long as they are kept to the topic at hand and limited to 3 minutes in duration. Being said, proceed with the meeting. Invite participation from here and afar.
Yes. Thank you, John. Dan, do you know if Charlie was planning on attending this evening?
I think he was, but if he's not on, I'll try to handle the application.
Okay.
Do you have that information they forwarded?
Yep, I can run through it, and then if there's anything else you would like to add, we can come back to you, but I will go through it first.
Okay.
If that's okay. I have what he provided, so. Okay, so 175 J Street, the current owner, DSCC LLC, they purchased the building about a year ago. They are looking to do both an interior and an exterior rehab of the structure. For the exterior of the building, they're looking to replace 352 existing windows. They're made up of vinyl and wood 1/1 sash windows and casement windows and swing casements. The building was previously the Amstel Brewery, and in the early 1900s, it was then renovated to the current structure that we know as the Knickerbocker Apartments with a stuccoed exterior and 5 floors with a dormered roof. So as we see it currently, on the corner of J Street and Dove Street, in the Center Square Historic District. Yes.
When did that happen? When was that?
The conversion was, I believe it began in 1910 and was completed in 1919. I have some photos, historic photos at the end that we can look at. But the current building, due to deferred maintenance, there's a lot of deterioration with the existing stucco, and the historic wood windows that are currently in the building have had a lot of deferred maintenance where pieces are missing, they no longer function.
How many housing units?
Dan, do you know how many units are in that structure currently?
No, I'm not sure of the number of units that are in there now.
I think it's over 90, possibly.
Find out who Dan is for people.
Dan Hirschberg. I'm not.
No,
We'll do that.
Okay.
Is that okay? You're on the big screen, Dan. So for
I'm just sitting here in my car.
this is progress. Hold on, sorry. There we go. So the current plan is to repair and restore the exterior stucco and repaint the building. And then for the windows, they are currently proposing to replace all the existing windows with a rehow window, which is a UPVC window, and then use a system from Boston Historic, which is a mahogany veneer that's applied to the exterior of the UPVC window, which is an unplasticated polyvinyl type window. So it will have the appearance of a true historic wood window from the exterior, but be a full UPVC window system. So
Similar to a cellular PVC. It's like a multi-layered window.
yeah, so my understanding is that it has the stability, a greater stability than a regular vinyl PVC window or a aluminum window, is how it was explained to me. And when I pulled up the specifications for it, I guess it's a more durable window, and it's longer lifespan. It doesn't have like the issues that some aluminum windows may have, where they may start to twist. But I guess is a vinyl clad or a wood clad vinyl window. And then
To provide, extensive amount of product literature about the window, or do
we can request,
refer us to a website we can visit,
I
study it?
when I spoke with the applicant, they didn't have the manufacturer specifications, but we can definitely request, you can request that information as part of today's meeting.
Could we also request some kind of a photo or like a sample of where it's been installed? So not just like the manufacturer specifications certainly, but also, I'd like to see it in a historic building and understand more about its use.
Okay. The applicant did say that they've been using it throughout Boston, and the Boston Historic Commissions and neighboring commissions have been improving them, but I will definitely get that.
And also a sample.
Yep.
For us to actually see and touch.
And I think, so yeah, it'll have an untreated wood, non-painted, like wood window appearance from the street. So it'll be that dark brown.
So the mahogany is applied and exposed on the exterior face, and it will be allowed to weather to a gray, or what is their intent?
That's a good question. Yeah, we can find that out.
The way I was understanding, it's not wood at all. So wood finish.
It's like a skinned veneer almost, is how it was explained to me.
So I'd be curious to understand how it weathers, or rather, how it's maintained. What's the longevity of this product? If you have a wood veneer, so it's attached to the window, so somehow, does this last 5 years, 15 years? I can't, is it glued? Is it like what?
How is it attached?
Yeah.
Well, it just so happens that I took a class today in my certification, registration, and it was multi-layered cellular PVC material. It's for decking. And it can also be used for window. And it's this cellular material, resinous cellular material with a print of an exotic wood or something like that. And then there's acrylic that's applied over it. And it can last up to 25 years. That might be the same thing that they're talking about. Okay. But personally, I think mahogany is not the right material to use for a window.
Well, real mahogany would be fine, but it's pre-finished with a mahogany colored skin. So
yeah,
that, determining what all those words mean put together and what the product is, having a sample in hand would be very helpful to understand it. Mm-hmm. Again, I mean, we've gone a long way toward looking at other technologies that are acceptable for replacement windows in historic districts and historic structures. So if this is one more, will bear scrutiny and would be acceptable. Happy to consider. Okay. We need to know more about it. Mm-hmm.
And considering the amount of windows, like 300 and change,
if I had 365 windows, I'd be looking for a 100-year window, not a 25-year window. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of windows in Center Square that are a lot older than 25 years old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they are, just run through the photos. And the previous owner did come forward in 2018 for not a full window replacement, but I think 100 plus windows at the time that were in disrepair. The application was deferred, requiring that the previous owner go through to do a full window survey, but they never came back, and it sounds as though they did not do any further maintenance on the windows that needed to be repaired or that needed to be addressed when they came forward in 2018.
What was the material they were planning?
I think an aluminum clad window. I can't remember either. I think initially they had wanted a vinyl window, and then based on either feedback from myself or other planning staff, they had changed it to an aluminum clad window. So in the packet, it's not within the slideshow, but within the packet that was provided to you, they did go through and they did document every window. I didn't see anything necessarily that documented the condition, but they did go through and take measurements and document the type of window. Both there's an elevation and then a corresponding spreadsheet. But they, based on conversations with the applicant, they are planning on matching the openings and styles of all the windows, so replacement in kind for all new windows.
And that's sash and frame, right?
I believe so, yes. And then the other part of the application is also the replacement of the J Street entrance, which had been previously altered. The existing door and these side lights are currently a fiberglass replacement. They are proposing to modify the existing historic side lights to put in a new wood door system with just a single door system and larger side lights. Based on one of the photos though, it does, and I may be wrong and we'll need to follow back up with the applicant, but it does look like they're also proposing to remove the transom. The photo in the packet has this documented as the trim being brought all the way up to the upper sill. But replacement with a new custom-made milled single light entry door.
So are they just replacing everything here that's painted blue, or they're also messing with the recessed panel and light on either side of the three-part entryway that's painted blue? So are you talking about on either side of those?
So
pilasters are also going to change, or just the
combination of, yep. So they are fully removing the door and side light system.
which is the blue? You're talking about the
Correct.
blue. Okay.
They are then going to, this is a little bit better, remove the trim on the side, although it says in this note that they will be reusing the trim, all trim pieces. The side lights will become larger in order to accommodate just the new singular door. This brick with the recess is existing.
Where?
It's a different opening.
Yeah, that's completely different.
Give me one.
Original has 5 openings, this has 3.
Give me 1 second. Maybe. Let me pull this up. There we go. Give me 1 second.
It's the current doorway, it's the 2 window on each side. I wonder if that dates from the renovation from an industrial building into the residential building. It's the 1910 doorway. 1919 or something.
Well, the doorway was probably created in that renovation,
At that
but I would
Yeah.
guess that if what we're looking at is the historic trim pieces and
Yeah.
and side lights on the other side, that was a double door entry.
Yeah, the
Why
blue,
they wouldn't just continue with restoring the double door entry and get rid of the 1970s fiberglass door.
So,
yeah, everything in blue looks like it's a relatively modern replacement, but what they're proposing obliterates the entire historic, all the historic trim.
mhm.
What
So-
kind of doors were there historically? Is there any evidence of, or photographs of the original? Now those, the pilasters and the transom bar, that's all original or
I would,
original to the conversion?
I would say that the white trim pieces and the gray panels, so the paneled side lights and the tripart transom above are historic.
They should keep that.
And that these blue doors are the existing fiberglass replacement doors. So what they are proposing to do is widen the historic transoms, remove the panels, and then also raise this trim to the top door lintel to remove the transom and install a new wood single light paneled entry door.
Yeah, I don't think any of that's okay.
No, I agree.
They can change the blue fiberglass door and, the Home Depot side lights and door that are within, that are painted blue. And I don't see why replacing that can't meet any needs. There's plenty of width there. They can make it handicap accessible, but they should not mess with, in my opinion, any of that historic trim.
They can make it double doors.
Yeah, they have so much flexibility. Why would they, it's like they're just spending money to spend money. Like, why would they do that?
Want to maintain the setback from the brick, all that.
Yeah.
The drawing that we saw looked like those two outside panels to the left and the right just sort of disappeared. And suddenly you're into them. When I looked at it, it looked like the outside panels had been turned into brick. Now I see it in its full context. Totally different.
Mhm.
Was it just a design idea or was there a need to do it?
I believe it was just a design idea.
I would think for moving furniture in and out, having a double door would probably, even if they're unequal leaves, because there is likely a code requirement for a single leaf with opening. But, I think it's easily handled, a pair of 36-inch doors
Mhm.
in that opening.
Mhm.
Yeah, keeping the transom bar and the pilasters and the panels under the side lights.
Because the trim appears to be, from the photos, in reasonable condition, restorable condition.
Right. Yeah.
The transoms are really nice. I mean, we're losing so many transoms. Why?
Yeah, I mean, they have said that the existing Home Depot doors are in fairly bad condition, but
Can you show the picture of what they proposed again?
yep. Let me,
Yeah,
yes, okay.
no way. I'm sorry. I just don't know why.
Yeah, that can't be the same two brick, flat, pilasters there.
It's gotta be terribly off.
It's off, the scale is off.
It doesn't, proportionately, it just doesn't look right. Something wrong.
Well, the transom is going here,
Yeah.
so, I think the brick panels are in the right location.
It could just be that drawing isn't very detail oriented.
How high is the door? What's that, 85?
92, I believe. It's 8-4 door, 8 foot, yeah.
I don't see any reason to change what's already there.
And then the other part is to, there's another set of doors along J Street, another wood single light door that will be retained and repaired. And then these doors, which are the Dove Street entrance, will be retained and repaired. And then where you see the current wood paneled, that door was actually stolen. They caught them on camera. The door was stolen, so they will be having a new matching door fabricated to restore, to
Six-panel door?
no, to match the single light,
Okay.
to match the original double door configuration.
The original historic door was stolen off its hinges.
Yeah. On camera, yeah.
Some contracts were happy
So
to
you
have.
have
So, that is all the exterior changes to the building, that are under consideration for a certificate of appropriateness. The paint application portion will be handled administratively through the planning department. And then
How's the Mansard roofing material?
no one has, it's currently, I believe, still slate.
Hopefully it's still in good condition.
It's never come up in any discussion, so I have a feeling it's probably still in fairly good condition, so,
Keep it.
yeah.
And
some of the photos that, in the collection, when you go around to the back of the building, there's kind of this monstrous wrap. It almost looks like they wrapped the old cornice with some, sheet metal material just to cover it all up. And, the cornice appears to be intact and visible on the Dove and the J Street elevations, but the other elevations of the building in that courtyard behind, have been altered. And, certainly discovering what's there and restoring to what's there in 1910, converted the building to the kind of thing.
It's a wood cornice or maybe a metal cornice. I think the Dove Street entrance might give us clues as to how the doors once were.
Yeah.
J Street.
And they're gonna repair the stucco with stucco, so there's not gonna be, they're not gonna ephes it or.
No.
So,
It'll be a stucco,
okay.
yes.
There's some pretty strange things going on up there.
And we can ask them for further, so I take it back, on this back side, it does look like asphalt shingles, newer asphalt shingles. But this, one of the things that Charlie, who is the applicant, did bring up is that they are having water infiltration issues, which is causing deterioration to the existing stucco. So this may be a temporary patch, but I can follow up with him on that one as well, and just
Well, it's been like that for about 20 years.
have.
So
No water infiltration coming through some.
we've got built-in gutters on the base of the mansard.
I bet you if they remove that material, is it metal? You might find some of that cornice that could be okay.
No, I would think so.
And that's probably why they covered it up, so they don't have to deal with replacing it or deal with water issues. That's a major work there. That's the whole length of the building from Dove Street all the way to the other side.
Middle of the lawn. We're just understanding how they're going to treat that, because it is visible.
Yes. I will ask
And
them.
before they spend money on the stucco, they should figure that out.
Yes.
Fix it.
Oh, yeah.
Like trying to just keep it up there.
I thought I read in the application package that there was some discussion of removing the stucco at the base of the building.
Yes.
And exposing the original brick?
So there was discussion, and let me do this again. Let me go back here. So there was discussion, and originally what they had wanted to do, I don't have the rendering because the applicant did speak with the property owners, and they decided to repair and restore the stucco fully on the building. But initially, our discussions, you'll see we have. So this is a photo from the 1880s of the original building during when it was a brewery, and it was a full brick structure. So originally the applicant had wanted to restore the stucco on the upper floors and remove it on this base level, and not restore the stucco. My understanding was put a half brick veneer up on the first level.
Yeah, brick.
Well, or a brick veneer, so not a full.
So a brick veneer on top of the existing brick.
Correct, is what my understanding was. I had advised against that because the existing building and the existing stucco are historically significant in their own right. This building was altered in the early 1900s, and it's over 100 years old. And based on our review criteria that's in the Historic Resource Overlay Guidelines, is that alterations do gain significance. So this is, the current structure itself, the current style and materials are historically significant and should be retained. And either, you go fully back to the original 1880s style of the building, or you maintain what's currently there, but it shouldn't be a combination of both. So they had decided to alter the application and just go with a full restoration of the stucco.
Very good.
Thank you, Lee. So is there other material information that you would like to see from them, or anything other than the doors of advising them against altering the historic entry features on J Street that you would like to see, or I guess any questions that you have for Dan that he may be able to answer?
Well, that roof and cornice water question.
Okay.
And of course the window, the more information on the windows and that.
Okay. Let me stop this share. Let me pull up Dan. Let me figure out how to unmute Dan. Oh.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Dan.
Okay. I didn't hear the last question.
One of the things that we had discussed was, do you have any information on that north elevation, the condition of either the cornice or the wrapping that's been placed on the cornice?
No, I don't have any information on it. Charlie may have something on it, but I wasn't up there at all on the building, but I'm sure they have existing photos of it.
Okay. Any other questions for?
Yeah. It seems like the window cladding that we're going to try to provide you with a sample of the material and a more detailed specification so you can understand what that material is.
Okay.
And an example of it having been applied, if it's been, I think Erin said that it's been approved in Boston, or I'd like to see it, on a building.
Okay. I'll verify it. Okay.
Yeah, if they have any case studies of projects they've completed with this window, that would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
And anything else from any other information from the applicant?
I wonder how occupied the building is.
I know one of the plans is one of the plans for the interior renovations is to do it based, pretty much empty out one side of the building, do the renovations, and then shift to the other side of the building. So that they, if there are existing tenants in the structure, they can be there while they do renovations on one side and then fill it back up.
Is there any historic material on the interiors, although we don't deal with the interiors?
I'm sure there probably is, but I know that over the years it's been fairly, units have been combined, units have been, or, split up to increase the unit count in the building, so.
Are they going to include any renewable energy in this? Are they looking at like solar panels on the roof or anything to increase sustainability in the town?
I'm not sure. Dan, do you know if they're planning on making any sustainable upgrades?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with the interior plan. Charlie just asked me to sit in for him at the HRC meeting. So I reviewed what Charlie sent you, but it didn't include a significant amount about anything interior to the building.
I know.
And he knows about the door. The revised elevation of front doors.
I will provide that to him in the comments. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. I'll write up the minutes with all of our recommendations and required information.
And of course, any lighting or signage that we're proposing for the building as well.
When do they want to have this complete?
Dan, do you know when they have their completion or goal for completion is?
I know Charlie's anxious to get started, so I have no idea what the construction schedule is, but I know he's very anxious to get started because they're trying to accommodate existing residents so that they can work out a plan for them. But I don't have a completion date at all yet.
Okay.
Who is Charlie, by the way?
Charlie is the applicant. So
It's
he is.
DSSC Incorporated. They're the people that currently own the building.
Right.
Yeah.
Charlie have a name?
Charlie Attar.
Attar, okay.
Right.
I'm working with Charlie on rehab and Schenectady, which is also got some 1880, 1890 buildings on it that we're working on that project too. So they've done a lot of historical rehab so far, so they're anxious to get into this project.
Well, it's definitely a big one. There's some real challenges there.
Yes. They also have a number of other buildings that they acquired along with the purchase of 175J, but they're going to be doing interior work and then mostly just repointing and repainting of the exterior of the structures. So.
Does this one meet, are they looking at historic tax credits?
I don't believe they are. I know that we brought it up, and I don't believe I can't remember if the threshold wasn't enough because they're income producing properties. But we had discussed it with them, and I don't believe that they were going to use them. So, but they have been considered. So, if that's it, then may either be back at the next August 4th meeting or the later meeting, most likely in August, depending on when they're able to get the required missing information. So, but if there's nothing else, then we can let Dan go and we'll have them back.
Is there anyone who has signed up from the public to offer comment?
I don't believe anyone had signed up. I know, sorry, I believe Kara is on from, is on from Historic Albany. Let me just, okay, Kara said no comments from Historic Albany at the time. But I don't believe we had anybody else. It just looks like James Browning is on. So I
You're
think,
welcome, Carol.
so I think that's it. There's no action needed for tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, we can let Dan go.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. On to my meeting. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Just gonna mute Dan. Okay. So that was it for applications tonight. And I guess we can go on to other business. Did everyone see, and I know Chris, Aaron, and Jack, you were at the City Hall steps
Yes.
Site visit, and I sent out the comments, Jim Tobin, who is the architect working for the engineering department, had sent out a recap, like meeting minutes, and then also comments addressing some of your comments that you had brought up and requested information. Do you all have any follow-ups that I can provide to the engineering department at all, or any thoughts or concerns about what Jim Tobin had sent out?
Replace them. It's just,
Well, I mean, just the question that was raised about the compatibility of the kind material as a coloring agent over the repair package. Because reading all of the literature on the kind of material is specifically formulated, or appears to be fairly specifically formulated for concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily a masonry colorant by design. So how it would react to the patches that they're doing with the Edison material, or if they're using it to blend colors and put on the original brownstone, how it's going to react to that. Have some real concerns. We're could be painting ourselves into a real heavy duty maintenance issue all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think, needs further study to really understand the chemical properties of the material, what it's likely to do, and how it will perform in the long term.
Okay.
And I think Marilyn had some pretty specific feedback in the meeting when we were at City Hall, but, the thing that I just think about is, and I know we're very far down this road, but I just want to say sort of in the public meeting that, this is a Richardson building and it's Albany City Hall and it faces the state capitol. And to me, it deserves, an architectural conservator to study it and present a set of opinions that, that it should be treated like the landmark it is, mm-hmm. with a real conservation assessment. I'll even go so far as to say it's something the Preservation League could probably help pay for through one of our NISCA grants. I got the sense at the meeting of a kind of a rush. And I understand, there's a lot in play, and these are the stairs to our city hall, and they have to be well maintained. But this is a really important building, and not saying I'm going to fall on my sword for this, but it would be really nice if it was kind of treated with that conservation expertise, hiring somebody who is a trained architectural conservator who knows brownstone, who studies it and takes the time to really, to Commissioner Myers' point, to really understand the treatments that are being recommended and not suggest something that's really meant for concrete on brownstone, but all of that.
Also, the issue is not just the steps.
Microphone. You can pull it in real close.
It's not just the question of the steps, it's also the question of the loss of material on the base of the columns and even the bottom of the columns themselves. And it is really museum work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your normal type of, and I would really love to see that kind of attention given to it, that you have the absolute best expert that we could possibly get. And I'm not sure we had that. And I did feel rushed. Mm-hmm. And didn't feel I was in a position to say which would be better or not, because it's not my area of expertise, and I'm not sure it's anybody who isn't in that very specific field.
Great.
I mean, if there is a viable option to replace them, that would be my first choice.
Well, he had suggested replacement at one point, and I know I was one of the ones who questioned whether they needed full stem replacement.
If they were replaced tomorrow, you would still have a problem with the base of the pillars and the pillars themselves.
More than one issue.
Yeah, so there's really one comprehensive problem, not just a question of the steps.
Or if there was that architectural conservator, with a specialization in brownstone and masonry conservation, who looked at it and said, okay, this needs replacement, this doesn't, or that the idea of replacement was really studied, like at the cathedral, then it seems like that's something that would be easier to get behind.
Right. I think one of the things too that I, with the comments that Jim Tobin had also provided, I know it came up at the site visit, was the matching of the mortar as well, and the matching of the mortar color. And that what they were proposing was off from what the existing historic mortar is, which I know in the comments was kind of rebuked by that, what they had matched and what was on the building was matched to the color. But I think I would also like to see kind of a full, maybe mortar analysis, so that we have a full understanding of what is there, what the color composition is, and that information as well.
Absolutely.
And what is that? We never decided the mix. You don't have to put it up on the building. You can just have a mock-up inside.
Mm-hmm.
And take your mock-up.
And I know that you were there today, Lee, but and you may not have realized it, but they did have an area on the one base where they had been doing some work with like patchwork and like pattern matching, where they had a sample of the new mortar next to the existing mortar.
Is that in the middle? Is that
it's on the south door, set of south doors, and
okay.
It's not the end pillars, but the middle pillars between the south door and the middle doors.
Showing John the patching of the steps.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go back to the engineering department and let them know that there are some concerns that need to be addressed. They do have a certificate of appropriateness for the planing and the use of the Edison coating currently. But if they do decide to revise it, they will have to come back before the HRC for those revisions. And I guess, if they are pushing for the use of the KIND product, would you all like to see them come back before the HRC, or would you also advise maybe doing another patch so that we can see the compatibility of the materials?
But we can certainly do an initial visual compatibility, but we're not going to really know the long-term performance of it.
Right.
What's the difference between the Edison and the KIND? I mean, are they basically the same type of material?
My understanding is that the KIND is like a mineral colored, like
Like a silk?
colorization system. I'm not 100%.
Supposed to match. Like I was telling you, Tweed Courthouse, the different Dutchman, marble Dutchman.
Yeah.
And I believe we used that product, that was 20 years ago, to blend it, to make it look uniform. And then 2 years later, it was gone.
Yeah.
So you still had that patchwork of Dutchman.
I think it's fairly similar to an Edison product. I think the composition may be slightly different. My understanding is that KIND has a larger variation of color options and that it has the ability to match a wider range. But I'm not 100% sure. I think it is more used with concrete. I know, like, what I've also looked at, it does seem to be used more with concrete products. So I think I'm not 100% sure. And I know that the KIND distributor said that they can be used with Edison products and other types of like coating products, but Edison would not provide any comments or guarantees that they are compatible with KIND. So.
Well, Edison makes a similar product that doesn't have the color range. Certainly, looking at the Edison product as a comparative analysis, because generally when you stick with one manufacturer, you've got one source of responsibility, and you don't have one of these Thomas Nast cartoons where they're pointing at each other. So, and then if Edison could be convinced to formulate to match a specific color, has that been researched?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the chemical composition of the substrate material really wants to talk to whatever is going on as the color to finish it. And again, how does that, where there are stretches of raw brownstone, you're going to want to blend this in for coloration. How is it going to react very differently to the patch material than it is to the host stone? I think it would.
Yeah.
And I feel like this all just gets back to if the city would take a step back and hire somebody who has this expertise instead of relying on the salespeople who are going to have their own vested interest. And, I think it would pay off in the long run. And,
It's an
I
exception.
mean, even though Jim could.
yeah, I mean, this is
if they
such
could
an important
add
building.
a little money to his fee so that he could hire, someone like BCA or some
Exactly.
organization that can really comment, very cogently on what is a good way to approach this project. As you say, it's a Richardson building.
Couldn't we
Well,
just
most important
hire
buildings in the
somebody, or do we have a city engineer we use in contract?
So
Otherwise, couldn't we just hire?
city engineer is managing the project. and they have hired Jim Tobin to do the architectural work and plans for the project.
And was that through like an RFP, or is that because he's under sort of an agreement with the city to do like a retainer?
I'm not 100% sure. I know when I was asked to look into the project outside of what the engineering department was doing, and had discussions with them, they had just told me that they were already working with somebody. So I don't know. I think the city had put out an RFP a number of years ago for other exterior work on the building, and they had hired him to do consultation for that. And it may have been through an RFP process, and they just had brought him back. But I'm not sure if there was another RFP just for City Hall steps. And he was brought on through that process. So.
Was it Jim's decision to use Kime and Edison, or was it the engineering department?
So when we had the site visit, they also had a mason on site who had done the patchwork.
Who was it?
PCM, is it, or?
PCM or I have it in an email. I can't remember off the top of my head. He was fairly knowledgeable, and he had done the patchwork, and he had also brought up his concern with the salt coming through, and that was really impacting the patchwork that had been done because it was causing discoloration, that there was a lot of salt from years of using incorrect winter materials on the steps and just, incorrect maintenance on the existing steps. And that he had been through on a number of occasions and actually washed and flushed out the steps while the patchwork had been done. And so he has concerns because when you're up close to the stones, you can actually see the variation in colors. And so his plan was to use the Edison coat in conjunction with the Kime in order to do a better match of the very natural colors of the brownstone that is currently there.
Those two neutralize each other. You know.
Right. So,
Do more damage than good.
yeah, he felt that using one, they were having such a hard issue with matching the natural color of the historic stone with the Edison coating, that he didn't want to, and he also just didn't want to use one unified color. So, especially if there's areas where it's just going to be the natural brownstone exposed rather than having a coating.
I think it all really comes back to it. Aaron, over the chair.
Microphone.
Greater expertise.
Well, also independent expertise as well.
Yeah. So that's why, to your point, could the HRC engage somebody to consult
Yeah.
with them and offer some guidance? We don't have money or a budget to do things like that. Maybe that gets written into our suggestions.
Yeah, or the suggestion that Jim Tobin hire a sub-consultant to, he goes to BCA or somebody like that to do a proper masonry assessment and make recommendations, and then we don't have to question it.
We need a Norman Weiss. You remember Norman Weiss?
I do.
Is he still alive? Oh, no.
Yes, I think he is.
Yeah. He's probably not. Doing historic preservation. He's a sort of.
Yeah, he might have retired, but Claudia Kavanaugh lives she retired, but she's up in Rensselaer County. She ran the BCA New York City office.
I mean, we can always make the suggestion, so. See if
At
it,
least then we're going on record, so when this fails in 5 years or 10 years, we can say, you know,
it wasn't our fault.
it wasn't our fault, and like, you know, it's just such an important building. I mean, it's like,
In the engineering department, they just want to get it done. They don't know the true historical importance of this building. To them, it's a ground steps. They don't want to, they don't want to.
Paint they put on it over the years.
Yeah, they don't want to involve.
yeah, which, I mean, I guess shouldn't there be some hierarchy, or, I mean, I don't, you know, of the buildings that the city owns, you know, when they're landmarked, that there's somebody with, you know, that they talk to you before they hire somebody, so that somebody with a preservation expertise is part of that discussion, so we don't get into this situation. That's a recommendation.
City Hall, probably the two most obvious ones that we protect.
Yeah.
City also owns the geographic monument that everybody knows about, where James Hall had his studio and what's now Lincoln Park.
It's actually owned by the city school district.
It's still a school district.
Correct. Yep.
It's actually one of the few things that's on the national landmark status.
Mhm.
We only have about a half dozen of them that have that highest national landmark.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment, to be honest with you. And every geologist knows about it.
We were in it 3 years ago.
I don't even think that long ago. But it's interesting because that building is still in fairly good condition. It's more the additions.
Yeah, the Sunshine School needs a lot of work, but the James Hall office is.
The disappearance of the Sunshine School would be very helpful to the building.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's the inside. I mean, we went through the whole, yeah. We were able to go through the whole building, and the hall office is in very good condition, and it has great vistas out over the city and the park all the way down to the river and then over to Rensselaer County.
Too bad if the amount of investment in Lincoln Park, that couldn't be included in the whole situation. And I sit on the board of the Regional Parks Commission for Saratoga Capital. And, you know, we just did an awful lot of work putting in a true visitor center in Thatcher Park.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing is the state paleontologist did so much and trained a whole generation of people in geology and related fields. And they all know about it.
Yeah.
And it's a very important thing, very important for the museum. And we should have, at some point, done something with it. It is secure. I won't say it's in great shape, it's secure.
It is, yes.
It's not endangered in the sense that the roof is going or something like that, but really it's something we should be very proud of. And look at all the work that the water department is doing in the upper part, and all the work that the city is doing in the lower part. You know, should be the third leg on the stool, so to speak.
I would start putting pressure on the school district, so.
There's a school board meeting tomorrow.
School board will put that on the bottom of their list.
I'm sure.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, are there any other matters to, Aaron and Marilyn and I met 2 days ago. No, yesterday.
Yesterday,
It was
yeah.
yesterday. To go over the kind of the bones and structure of this report that we owe the Common Council for the emergency actions. So we'll have a draft to review at our meeting on the 4th, we're going to try and get this distributed well before that, so that you have an opportunity to look at it.
It'll be due that Friday on August 6th, so it'll be a quick turnaround.
You're looking for our comments?
We'll be, looking for the comments. What we have to include within the report is the building department has provided 3 of their vacant building registry reports. So they provided the 4th quarter from 2020, and then we have the 1st and 2nd quarter for 2021 so far. And so they will include what is within those reports is the number of vacant buildings that are within the city of Albany, and then broken down by historic district, and then also the number of emergency actions that have taken place in the historic districts, which include emergency demolitions and emergency stabilizations. So our report, I have to document all the buildings that are within the historic districts and provide kind of a brief statement of significance for each of those structures, and then any other data that is attached to those buildings. And then we've also mapped those structures by individual districts, so you can see the location by district. And then John had provided, I had them mapped throughout the district, and it includes both demolitions within historic districts and then citywide. And what John had actually gone back and amended, showing the location based on historic district, but also incorporating the map from the historic preservation plan showing potential pending and potential historic districts, so that we can see them in relationship to where we are possibly losing them on the periphery of our historic districts or in areas that we've deemed to be, historically significant and potential districts, either in the National Register or local level. And then we will also, part of the big discussion that we had yesterday was recommendations to the Common Council and the mayor in regards to both vacancy and demolition process within the city. So, which reflected on a number of things. So, but we will, the new ordinance and local law that were passed in March by Richard Conti and Judy Duche and Kathy Fahey, we will be required to provide an annual report, I believe on April, in possibly February or April of every year, to the Common Council and mayor based on the previous year's emergency actions. So.
Yeah, because they had passed the legislation in March and the report would have been due the next month. For the previous year, we wrote the letter, requested to be deferred, and basically a half-year report. It's kind of really just to put the training wheels on it, figure out what we're doing and how we present the information.
Ironically, that's 3 sponsors that bill who will not be members of the Common Council next year.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's it. We will have a split public workshop and hearing at the next August 4th meeting. So we will require a quorum. And with the hybrid setup, I was telling Aaron Tobin earlier, and I had put it in the email that I had sent out last week or 2 weeks ago now, I can't remember. If you cannot attend in person, but you wish to attend virtually, I need to know that 15 days in advance of the meeting, and I need to know the address of where you'll be attending from, because you're all commissioners on a public-facing board. If you're not attending here, that other location is considered a public meeting location, and members of the public need to be allowed to attend from that location if you're going to be attending the meeting virtually.
We do it like Dan from our car.
Yeah, if you're gonna be sitting in a parking lot, I just need to know, I can put in parking lot at 200 Henry Johnson Boulevard.
And I saw that, I noticed this when the town council did it, that it's not attached to a person, right? So like if I were not here, I mean, obviously if you're in the meeting and there's one person missing and it's the other spot, but it's not like, it doesn't say Aaron Tobin will be at this address. It just says public meeting at X address and Y address.
Do we have to attach the name? Do you know?
I don't think you have to attach the name, but they have done that for Councilman Farrell, I think, who's experiencing issues recovering from COVID, and they did list that she would at her house for some things.
Okay.
But
I
I
can,
don't think they listed that address belongs to her. So like
No,
you have
that's
to,
the
you have
only-
to read through and
Yeah.
sort of surmise.
and I can also reach out to Martha and just verify that information, but I know based on open meeting law, like we have, if there's going to be either alternate locations where it's going to be screened from or whatnot, we have to have that listed. So
And it doesn't have to be in Albany.
it does not have to be in Albany, no. So,
Set up a safe house someplace.
yep, so that is, you know, if you are going to be someplace else, you may have very enthusiastic neighbors that also want to come and join you. So just be aware that,
I'm 4 hours away.
yeah. But just, you know, and if you do have any issue with that, I would just say recuse yourself from the meeting. So,
Yeah.
but other than that,
All right.
so.
On that note, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, you can raise your hand and we can see. We don't have to take roll call.
All right.